In this tutorial we're going to be showing you how to trigger a drum kit with ADM's built-in sequencer, and we'll create a beat that sounds like this. So we're starting with a blank project in Ableton, and we'll load up ADM drum machine onto a new MIDI track. First we'll choose our kit, so we just click on the rocker switch at the top here and choose the UK Funky kit in the patch library. We also need to sync ADM to our host tempo, which is 122 BPM, so we just click the sync to host button here, and we're going to edit the pattern, so we'll click the pattern right button as well. So now we can start programming our pattern. We'll start with a standard 4/4 kick, and we'll place an additional kick on beat 4.5 at half velocity. When the buttons are fully lit, it's full velocity. When they're half lit here, just dimmed, then it's half velocity. We'll also add a snare and a clap onto beats 2 and 4. We'll add a closed hi-hat at 16th notes and just have 4 at the end in a row there, and we'll place a cymbal on beat 4.5. So we can make this sound a little bit more funky by changing some of the samples. If you hold left click on any of the SPL displays here, you can load up different samples. So we'll do that with the simple, and we'll go for ride 5. We'll turn up the decay knob a little bit here to 2.1 just to lengthen that. We'll also turn the level down. 50% is fine. So that sounds fine. We can probably give a little bit more power to the kick by choosing a different kick drum. So we'll do the same as we did with the cymbal, just by going into the different samples, and we'll choose kick 13. We can give that a little bit more power. We'll lengthen it a little bit with the decay control here. Push that to 1.8 seconds, and we'll up the level as well to 80%. So that sounds pretty good as a basic beat. Let's use some EQing to help give that a bit more power and punch. We're going to use one of the EQ plugins from the CM Studio, in this case 2EQ Pro. Just drag that onto the track, and we're going to add 3 nodes, and they'll all be Anna peak nodes. So the first one is going to be 2.2 dB at 80 Hz. Second one, minus 3.5 at 200 Hz, just to scoop out some of the frequencies above where the kick plays, give it a bit of space in the mix. And we'll change the curve on that to 0.8 for a nice sharp curve. And the final node we'll place at about 17K and push that to 4.3 dB. With a smoother curve, just to give some sparkly top end. So let's give the drums a little bit of space in the mix. We'll just do this really simply with KR-Reverb CM, and we'll place that before the EQ plugin. Really subtle effect at 2.5% wet. Just gives the drums a little space in the mix. Lastly, we'll add Sats and CM, which is a channel emulator plugin, and this is just the final step, which is going to glue all those elements together, provide a little bit more saturation. So that's good for the first track. Next up, we're going to add a clap with a long reverb to add a kind of disco shimmer to the track. We'll duplicate our main beats track, and we'll swap ADM for CM505, another drum machine in the CM Studio. So we'll choose the gentle preset kit, It has a nice simple clap there. We'll tune that up a little bit to 8 semitones. So we've now programmed a clap on every fourth beat. Let's see how that sounds. We want to really make that a long, splashy kind of reverb, so we'll open KR-Reverb CM on the claps track and make some adjustments here. We'll change the early size up to 70%, diffusion 57%, the late reflections 71%, decay's fine. We'll leave the low frequency damping as it is, but we'll push up the high frequency, just take off some of that splashy top end, and we'll increase the listener position to around 62%. We'll also increase the dry wet level so it's completely wet. Let's take a listen. Just going to make a couple of small adjustments in the sats and channel strip on the claps track. We'll adjust the high frequency levels to 1100 and low frequency to 8 kHz. To get exact adjustments, just right click on the dial and you'll be able to type in the adjustments yourself. So the clap sits really well in the mix now. One final track, we're going to add a cowbell onto a third track here. The MIDI for that's in the tutorial files, MIDI parts and samples folder. So just drag that into a new track. And we're going to use a CM505 drum machine as well with the Synth Pop 2 kit. We'll tune that just to 1.5 semitones. That's going to make it so it's in the same key as the rest of our track, which is the key of G. We'll add a delay plugin to the cowbell track with KR Delay CM, and we'll set the delay sync to an eighth note on the left and quarter note on the right. And we'll also give that a little bit of space in the mix with the reverb from our main ADM beats track. Just copy and paste that. We'll make a slight adjustment just up the dry wet level to 5%.